Alright, so went to the Charlotte Ham Fest the other day and ran into these two fine examples of a radio. Got a Philco model F-974 from 1959. It's an AM/FM set. It's 7-tube and a Philco. It's a I'm not really sure. I'll have to go look it up. I'm going to do a video on this separately, so it's really not important in this video. But this is it's from 1940-41, I believe, and Philco started producing refrigerators in the early 40s. They bought out a company called Fairbanks Morse, I believe it was, and when they sold all their refrigerators that they had in stock, and then in 1940-41 they started producing their own brand. Well, they offer these radios as an accessory to a refrigerator, and that's why the bottom of it's cut out in sort of an arch. I don't know if you can tell in the video, but it is. Anyway, we'll get on to that. It's in pretty sad shape. It's got baling wire, baling cord tied together to keep the case together, so it'll need to be re-glued and all that. And this is another one of those Philcos from the late 30s, early 40s that had rubber wiring, so that ought to be fun. And the power cord is an example of that. So anyway, we'll get on that in another video. And by the way, a little update on the console tube radios that I did on the last two videos. The last one I did was this Zenith from 1940, and the Montgomery Ward is gone. That's a silver tone that I've had here for a while, and the guy, I gave it back to the guy and he come got it, so it's gone. Alright, so as I said earlier, we have a Philco model F-974 from 1959. Again, it's a 7-tube set, and I've got the schematic printed out. It was covered in Beatmans, so I went ahead and printed that out. I'm basically, it's kind of hard to read. It's real small, printed real small, so I'm gonna have to have my reading glasses to read it. I swear the last 6 to 8 months I've become just about blind as a bat, so I'm gonna have to use those to read that thing. But anyway, I plugged this in briefly after I brought it home yesterday, and I got it to power up, and I heard static, but I wasn't able to tune anything because, as you all know, every set I usually get has the dial string broken on it, and it looks like this knob here is missing the little gold metal cover. It looks like somebody tried to tape it on. They probably should have just glued it, and it probably would have stayed a lot better. But anyway, that's gone, and the dial here needs to be cleaned up. It's got dust or something behind it, so I guess when we pull the chassis out, I'll pull that off. It looks like it's got 2 screws that come in from the back side, because this thing stands off of the cabinet. This is a plastic cabinet. It looks like it's Bakelite, but it's not. It's plastic, just regular old plastic, and it's got plenty of scratches on the top, and it looks like a hairline crack right here. But overall, it's not too bad. I figure for 10 bucks, I couldn't go wrong. Alright, and here's the bottom of it. There it is, model F-974. There's the tube lineup. It's a pretty typical All-American 5-tube lineup with FM. It's got the 19 T8 and a 35 C5, 12B6, 12AT7, 12BA6. Got 2 12BA6s and a 12AU6 as an FM limiter. Here's the back of the set. The back cover is in good condition. It's got two little terminals here for antenna hookups, and you've got a bare wire sticking out. I guess that's for an external AM antenna. So not too bad. Let's go ahead and pull the back cover off of it and see what it looks like inside. I haven't seen it yet, so let's look at it together. And here's the chassis. I couldn't take the back cover all the way off of it because these wires for the loop antenna are not disconnectable. Looks like you got to unsolder them or whatever. So anyway, looks like we got a pretty typical late 50s chassis. We got a selenium rectifier in there, so that'll probably have to be changed because those aren't very reliable. And you got a couple of bumble bomb caps in there. I see one there and one there, so those will definitely have to go. Yeah, pretty typical late 50s chassis. The Philcos of this era were not the Philcos of the 30s and 40s. They were not built to as high of a quality standard as the old ones were. And this is looks like a circuit board with tubes on it, so those give mixed reviews. They tend to have connection problems and stuff like that, but we'll deal with all that if we have that problem. But it don't look too bad in there. It's a little dusty, but not too bad. I'm gonna go ahead and pull this thing out and let's take a closer look at it. Alright, well, I got the chassis out, but we still got wires holding us up. It's one going up to the two there going to the speaker, and so I'm kind of having it sit like this. I'm trying to figure out what's going on with this dial string. It looks like the thing just slipped off. I've yet to find it where it's broken yet, so it looks like it popped off. We'll see if I can get that back on there. There is a spring up in here, so I want to see if I can stretch that spring enough and pop that thing back on there without having to replace it. Well, I managed to pop that back on there, so now it turns all the way one direction and comes all the way back up. That's all the way down, coming all the way back around now. So that's fixed, so that's nice to actually have one that the string just popped off of it. I kind of wonder why it popped off, but irregardless, hopefully I don't have to replace it. I had to stretch it a pretty good bit to get it to go back around, but I got it.
Time to get behind.
Well, it works.
The woman's heart in particular, that it may not be hormonally related, but although it...
Like the controls need to be cleaned. Probably got some loose connections. Always seems like these ones with dirty controls, there's no happy medium between the volume. It's either down too low or too high. Yeah, we're going to have to spray that with some contact cleaner.
Interpreter really didn't exist, which is kind of interesting. So, were they letting people tour the house at that time, or just the garden?
Just the gardens at that time, because they were living here in the south flanker, the remaining structure at Middleton Place, and then half the year in town. And it was very much... That's a great question. Different clinicians and different practitioners. First lady, some low country
Alright, so that's FM. Flip over to AM and see how that works. Usually the AMs always work better on these than FM, but who knows. Well, that's on FM. I think I'm gonna have to.
In the moonlight, the next in the shadow.
Well, maybe it'll use the loop.
This beast moved toward the bullock. The head swung from side to side, watching for enemies. But it was time to.
Well, they got 1290 back on the air. It's been off the air for almost a year. I just gave up emailing them about the station being off the air. I thought it went off the air permanently, been off the air so long they finally got it back on the air. It's just a simulcast from FM anyway. I don't think the AM sounds that hot on it. Oh well, at least we know, you know, for the most part, the set works pretty good, so it probably just needs some, you know, some going through and, you know, some capacitors and some out of tolerance resistors, you know, the normal stuff. Okay, so I got the bottom plate off. It's like, I don't know, 9 or 10 screws in this thing. It's ridiculous, but this looks like the only point-to-point we have here. So the rest is printed circuit board. So yeah, not much to look at down here, but something unique about this set looks like is, if I can turn this over without knocking everything off, is these bumblebee caps here, you know, basically soldered down. You know, they probably have like 2 leads on one end of them, which is kind of different setup than I've seen from the conventional ones like this one here. So yeah, that's kind of interesting. But yeah, we're gonna have to at least change these caps out. These bumblebee, whatever caps. Need to get those out of here. And I'm gonna see how this. There's one of those fusible resistors there. So if anything shorts out, you know, if this shorts out, it's going to take that out, and these things are a pain in the butt to find matches for. Generally, they're pretty high wattage, and you know, you're getting something to fit in there. But anyway, I'm gonna look and see what all it's going to take to get this selenium rectifier is the word I'm looking for. Get that changed. But yeah, filter cap's not humming, but you know, it's the original, and I'm sure it's on borrowed time. Okay, I'm gonna see if we can get this bumble bomb out of here. Heat it up with a gun here. This is about the fastest way to get these things out of here. I got one side of it loose already, so let's try to unwrap it there. There it is. And according to the schematic, that's a 0.047, so I've got plenty of those. So we'll go ahead and get that put in there. Okay, I got me one, so we're going to stick it on here and wrap her up. Yeah, make it a little bit neater. I'll go ahead and snip this part off. This capacitor was, I used it for something before, and there's a loop still left in it, so I'm just going to cut that off. I don't know if you can see that or not, but that's what I'm going to do. Alright, I got that done. I'll leave that piece of metal in there. I'm going to short nothing out. So it's just a matter of soldering this back up. Now, I just about forgot it, but there's a lead that goes off here to ground, to chassis ground. So make sure I put that back on there. Oh, looks like that'll be good enough. It's just important to make sure you get a good mechanical connection before you solder it up, because you don't want to depend on the solder to make, you know, your connection, your electrical connection and your actual physical connection. It's always just a good idea. I mean, you know, sometimes you have to, but it's always a good idea just to have it make your electrical connection. So that's put in there, so let's plug it back in and check it out and see if it works. This thing's unplugged from the wall, so got a little cheater cord and put in here. Plug that back in on our back cover. Sometimes I use cheater cords off of you know, other, you know, radios that's not in the cover. So let's plug this back in and check our work. Make sure it works. And let it warm up a second.
He's done everything else. Why not?
It's a nice way to end the week.
You went the wrong way with this. You obviously have to blame Trump.
The unidentified driver was pulled over by a Flagler County deputy in Palm Coast last Thursday for allegedly running a stop sign and going 50 miles per hour. Now, he used a bunch of different excuses. He said he was trying to get his car out of...
Alright, well, that station's got a hum in it anyway, so I don't believe that's the fault of that capacitor, but it's working. So that's basically just the across the line. Now, another thing with these sets is when you hear a hum like that, you can turn it to a dead spot on the dial, and if it don't have a hum, it's most likely on the signal. Now, it can be a capacitor in the radio, you know, leaking a little bit, but that across the line capacitor, if it was bad, you'd hear a hum because it filters out the incoming AC line. So that's going to be, no matter where you put it on the dial, it'll have a hum. So there you go. Now, this thing is mostly disc capacitors, so that's a, you know, a definite improvement. Those rarely ever go bad. They just about have almost unlimited life, you know, as long as they're not shorted out or whatever. But and they do short just like anything else. But usually, if I was to pull these out and check them, most all of them would probably be dead on, even 60 plus years later. Alright, so I pulled this Bumble Bomb out of here. It's got two leads, but you can see the lead that comes down the side of it. Pretty much like they almost made it a radial lead instead of an actual lead, which is pretty much what they did. But anyway, yeah, it's reading .066. That's a little high. It's supposed to be a .047, so we'll need to replace that one. It's going to replace it anyway. These things explode all the time. They're crappy capacitors. Alright, I'm able to get y'all up in here because I found a little tripod that I've had for a while. And I thought I'd do this, but get y'all up in here when I'm actually doing work. I usually don't like doing this because I got to work around the camera, but I'm not going to be doing it a whole lot. But I thought I'd, you know, let y'all look in a little bit. But the problem with these circuit boards is, you know, I was using a gun a minute ago, and you can't do that with these circuit boards because you'll heat them up too hot and it'll pull the traces on them is what happens. I'll turn my light on so I can see what I'm doing. Hopefully y'all can see a little better too. But I need to clean up these holes so I can get that cap in there, the new cap in there. I'm gonna try to do this without burning these wires. A little solder pump in here and trying to get a little bit of this excess solder off here. So you don't want to hold this solder iron on here too long, because you'll heat these traces up. These old circuit boards are not made very well. The traces on them like to lift up. I don't even think I'm gonna be able to use this pencil iron to get this stuff off because it's not heating it up hot enough. I think I got the gun about all the way up. It's at 800 degrees. It should. Probably gonna need to clean the tip on this thing. I don't use it that much. Yeah, all these wires in the way, and it's hard to work around these things. There it goes. Alright, I think I got enough of a hole. Should be able to put the new cap in there. Alright, so what I'm going to do to get this mounted in here about as close as I can do it from what the factory had it, and mount it on the circuit board side, is just take an axle lead and fold one of the leads over like they did it at the factory there, and that spacing right there, I should be able to get it in there. But I'm not going to need a bunch of this excess lead, so we'll just cut that off and cut that off and do it that way. Let's see if we can get it from the other side. I can't pick you up and show you from the board side because it's really, really tight in here. But yeah, we'll just stick it through. Hopefully I didn't push it. Yep, see, that's what I'm talking about. You can push the trace out right there. See, it's already, I don't know if you see that, but that trace there's have come up, and they'll lift up on you like that. A lot of times what I'll do is just push it back down and just try to get the lead through the hole. Yeah, let's see, I got it through that time, but the other side is trying to push through. I got it now. So I'll fold this over a little bit and we'll solder it and trim the excess off and we'll be done. Alright, it's in there. There's our two leads right there. They're soldered up and got the ends trimmed off of it. So let's plug it in, check our work again. Alright, so there's our new yellow cap there, and
then he has to win a primary.
It's working.
When I believe he was down like
that station has a hum, and I keep using the station because it's only got talking on it. The other's got music. So you don't hear a hum on that signal. Still got to clean that pot. There's no hum on that signal. That local station is horrible. I mean, they run the bottom of the barrel stuff, and they really need to service some stuff because it breaks down all the time. The transmitter goes out all the time on those two stations we got, and that's just the way it is. But anyway, we'll moving on. We got one more to do. This one over here. Alright, so this one's reading even higher. It's 0.70 on this one. Now I know this isn't a definitive test. It's, I mean, it's a low voltage test, and but it's a quick, go no go test. And I wasn't planning on leaving these things in there anyway, but I just want to see what they read. And I've got a capacitor checker that will put more voltage in them than this thing will. But I just wanted to get a general idea of what these things were doing. They seem a little high, and they probably got an ESR issue on them. And like I said, they are usually self-exploding, so we're going to get them out of here. Alright, so I got the radio playing on FM, and what I'm going to do now is check the selenium rectifier. I already see an issue with it. This is typical of these old selenium rectifiers. They get old and build up resistance. They kind of do like old resistors do, and the older they get, they create more resistance over time, and they choke off the voltage of the radio. Now what I've got here, I've got the meter hooked up to the DC into the filter capacitor. These two orange wires are the incoming power line. They go, one hooks to the power switch, the other one hooks to this post here.
With most flavors, it's very easy
hooks to that post, then goes over here. This is the input of the selenium rectifier, and this is the DC out. And so then it goes up here and goes through the fusible resistor, comes out and comes over here. So according to the schematic, we're supposed to have 120 volts on this line here. There's a 60 microfarad filter capacitor. Here's the selenium rectifier. There's a 22 ohm resistor. Comes through here, and supposedly on that line we're supposed to have 120 volts. Well, we only have 108 volts, and that's after playing a few minutes. We started out at 117 volts, and it's been dropping ever since. And a lot of times what will happen is these things get old and weak, and as the set plays, the voltage drops off, and then before too long you won't have enough voltage to run the radio. So as you can see, as we're talking now, it's still dropping. So you get a radio with a selenium rectifier and you're thinking about changing it, just hook up a voltmeter and monitor the thing and let the set warm up, and if it drops off, it's starting to go bad. Now what I'm going to do now, I'm going to unplug the set and I'm going to let it sit a little while, and then we'll come back and see what the voltage is, and I'd almost be willing to bet money it's going to be higher, and then as the set plays, it's going to start dropping off. Alright, it's a few days later. Let's fire this thing up and see what the voltage is on this selenium rectifier here. I'll let the set warm up. That voltage will drop down.
WLJK Aiken at 89.1, WSCI-FM Charleston at 89.3 and HD2, WJWJ-FM Beaufort at 89.9, WHMC-FM Conway at 90.1.
It's supposed to be 120 volts. We're up way above that.
President Biden aimed some harsh words at Russia's Vladimir Putin.
For God's sake, this man cannot remain. Wow.
But the White House says it was not a call for regime change in Moscow.
Alright, so we'll give it a little time to let it warm up, see where it drops down. Alright, so about 5 minutes later we're already down to 115, so yeah, this thing's getting weak, so we're going to need to replace it with a diode, and then I'm going to have to figure out what kind of resistance we're going to need to take up the difference between the lack of resistance in the diode and what resistance the selenium rectifier has. Alright, so I have a little test lead. We got a 120 ohm resistor there, and we got our diode put in here right there.
Informing Russians about their country's invasion of Ukraine.
So we're running right at 120 volts with a 120 ohm resistor, so that's what we need. Unfortunately, this one's going to be too small for what I'm using. It's only a half watt. And I don't have any big power resistors for a 120 ohms, so I guess I'm going to have to get some, but probably need something like a 3 to 5 watt. Okay, so I got this large, I think it's a 10 watt, 150 ohm resistor. I took the flexible resistor out and just ran it straight through, and that's running dead on 120 volts. So I think that should do. Alright, so I guess the next thing we need to do is, I'm kind of on the fence about this because the capacitor seems fine, but if I don't do it, then we're probably going to end up having a filter cap issue. But anyway, I guess I'm going to replace this filter cap. It's not humming, and I don't think it's bad, but I'm going to take it out and test it and see what it how it performs, and see, make a determination whether I want to do it or not. Alright, so we got our filter capacitors in. I had to put one down here. But what I had to do was put two 47s, and then on the 80 microfarad side, which is over here, I had to put a additional 33 on the bottom. We've got our two 47s up here, and just decided to replace them. It was out of spec, the original one, so just go ahead and replace it. And I went through here and checked the rest of the stuff in here, the resistors and the tubes, and they all check within spec. So I'm ready to put it back together. It's playing really good, and I think we're done here. So I got to put this big old honking cover back on the bottom here and put everything back in the cabinet. Alright, so getting the face off this radio, you have to get this off because the dial pointer is behind here, and you can't push it onto the tuner without taking this off, and you can't put the AM FM thing on there. You can't take it out, So the easiest thing that I could figure to do would be, it's permanently attached up here. You can't get it out. There's no screw in the back to get this off. So I'll have to press these little clips. I hope I can get this off without breaking it. To pop these clips out and then just swing it around. I'm going to go ahead and pull this knob out of the way if I can get it out. Pull that back a little bit, pull that out. That's the easiest way I found to do this. Take that off, and then you can take this out. Then you can set your chassis up in here. And get it put back up in here where you can get this AM FM thing on it, the changer knob or whatever you want to call it, lever. Push that on. Now you got that back. The problem is you got to kind of figure out where this goes, because it just pushes on here, and you can turn it wherever way you want. And then you gotta, I don't know if you can see that, you gotta work your knobs on there. I got that one on pretty easily. Some of these other ones, like this one here, this one's gonna be a pain to get on. Eventually it'll fall down into place, I guess. That's it off. Okay, there it goes. Alright, so now we're on here, so we kind of need to find out where our dial stops. Okay, so that's the stopping point. So the way this dial works is the scale from AM FM splits here at the bottom here. So my best guess would be to put it straight up and down, because that's going to be your dial stop right there. You know, it's not going to go past all that. So somewhere right in there should be about right. This would be a good time to clean up the front of the radio, because you can't get back behind this dial, you know, to clean any of this up. I've already wiped this thing down. I'm pretty happy with it. I believe it'll be fine. But if you want to clean it, if you're working on one of these, you know, it'd be a good time to clean back behind here. I already did this one time. I pulled this out and cleaned back behind here earlier, but you know, I was just showing you how to get this off. And you just swing it back down. I think this is going to need to be pushed in a little bit further to clear that. Kind of hold your chassis in and push that in. Just watch when you are swinging this thing around, make sure you can clear everything. And then basically when you get it back here, you just got to pop your clips back in. Got that one in. Got that one in. And that's it. That's on there. That should be good enough. I think the chassis will sit back in there enough so that doesn't scrub the dial face there. I'm gonna get the rest of the screws in the bottom up under here, and I'll be back. Alright, so we got our 3 screws in the bottom. I don't understand this thing. It's got 2 additional holes here and here that there's nothing that goes in there. There's no on the bottom of the chassis plate, there's 3 nylon clips that go in there that accept these screws, and but there's nothing for these. So I don't know, maybe they use this chassis in more than one set. But I tell you what, this thing's a pain in the butt to to get back together, because on the bottom of here, this plate that goes on the bottom has 10 screws holding that metal plate on, but only 3 holding the the chassis and the radio cabinet. Don't ask me, I'm not an engineer. And I'm gonna start on AM. Seems to be working good. Got it all back together. A little after dark, so it's been sitting in here playing for a couple hours.
Raleigh just before 9 p.m. Friday. One person died on Saturday morning as a result of their injuries. The shooting happened along the 1500 block of Burgundy Street. LaShawn Talik Ford was pronounced
WPTF out of Raleigh.
Police department. 2 other people were transported to a local hospital with injuries.
Sound in his last 4 games.
Mel Gillis right now with a Good Woman Blues on Real Country.
No matter. Really smart.
Long. It did deal significant levels of confusion. I'm
do one thing and make him do something else.
Well, Kellen Sampson told us this yesterday. He said, you play Villanova, it's like a slow...
By 20 miles. Went 320 miles.
No doubt about it. Strong dog. Yes, near side. Tipped in behind the net. They're everywhere.
Alright, go over to FM. I might have to keep it moving through the music stations because I don't want to get a copyright.
camera that's right behind the rim inside the backboard.
Team looks like they're expecting that will be a surprise.
You have all these wild and unexpected conspiracy theories.
And choose to earn back on online shopping. Let's cut and crease
This now is the new iPhone 13 with cinematic mode, which lets you focus on what matters. And
got a good clear sound to it.
On getting the best deal. Our Silver Unlimited plan is just $45 a month.
So let's enjoy it.
It's eye on you and the Spacian Bay.
Golf Club in Sumter.
You're my friend. It's easy to keep up with the mess on highway floors. Even that mess. Swiffer,
the first time in my life.
Like I caught most of them on commercials.
Son.
We'll get together.
And if that name sounds familiar, well, he's...
And considering the last lap of time.
Oh, the Lord can help you.
No, I don't feel like it. Standing of the early years of the E Street Band, Bruce Springsteen, and on your way. Not as a member of the band, but thinking, hey, maybe this might work out, and then them sending you home on, you know.
All right, so that's my little Philco. Got it playing again. It's loud and clear. Got a good sound to it. A good speaker. The speaker's in good shape. Sounds good, and AM, FM both pick up great. This is a great radio. It's not a little radio. It's actually kind of big, you know, for a small, you know, or just an AM, FM, but you know, with miniature tubes. But it's a good little radio. It's still got all the modern bands on it. You know, the FM and AM are both working real well, and be a good little radio to put, you know, in a kitchen, or, you know, as a working display. So nice little radio, and you know, a great little deal for $10, you know. So hope you guys enjoyed the video, and we'll catch you later. Have a good one.